If a country is governed wisely, its inhabitants will be content. They enjoy the labor of their hands and don't waste time inventing labor-saving machines.
Mm, hmm.
Hey, welcome back everyone to another Tao Te Ching reading on the Jammin on the Tao channel with myself, Mark,
Adam.
and today we're going to read number 80 from the Tao Te Ching. I am reading from the Stephen Mitchell version, and we'll take a look at some other versions as well to see if there's some differences. But I'll start here. If a country is governed wisely, its inhabitants will be content. They enjoy the labor of their hands and don't waste time inventing labor-saving machines. Since they dearly love their homes, they aren't interested in travel. There may be a few wagons and boats, but these don't go anywhere. There may be an arsenal of weapons, but nobody ever uses them. People enjoy their food, take pleasure in being with their families, spend weekends working in their gardens, delight in the doings of the neighborhood. And even though the next country is so close that people can hear its roosters crowing and its dogs barking, they are content to die of old age without ever having gone to see it.
Hmm.
Wow, that's beautiful. That's a beautiful image right there. And I feel like I can get this idyllic, pastoral, austere sense of how life once was. And I feel there's a big calling in a lot of people to bring life back to this sense
Yeah.
of simplicity, of
Yeah.
true freedom, right?
Yeah. And I feel like what this is talking about too is like, yeah, the freedom of like authentic community too. Like, I mean, that's the word that you hear so many people. I mean, it's insane
Oh,
how many
yeah.
people I hear that have the same vision, the same image that they can't shake, the same dream of like, wait, no, we don't have to live like this. We can live more harmoniously and simpler and just have our little neighborhoods where everyone's got their little thing and they do their thing, Like, oh man, yeah. So this one is really interesting to kind of paint that image for people and let that vision sit with you.
Yeah, it kind of relates to number 49, which we talked
Yeah,
about, where the
yeah,
whole image of childhood and that going back
yes,
to that innocence and that carefreeness and
yeah,
that playfulness. And we've lost so much of that with the society and the infrastructure that's been built around us for us, generations past, not
yeah,
necessarily by us. And it's so
yeah,
sticky and icky. And it's like, how do we even how is this sustainable? It
one of my
doesn't. Like, there's no
yeah,
security, there's no real
yeah,
security anymore, right? But when you
or
work
at
as a
least it feels like
community,
yeah,
it feels
yeah,
like that. It feels like there's
yeah,
scarcity, even though that's a false concept, but it
yeah,
feels that way.
yeah,
And we are living that. And it's just there's got to be a better way. And we
yeah.
call it a new way, but it's really like the old way, right?
Yes, remembrance. Yeah, I mean, I'm just laughing because like one of my favorite funniest things I've come across, whether like in social media comments, is like sort of like people like our age or older, like older millennials, Gen X folks, and like younger Gen Z or younger, and they'll be like, "Wait, did you guys really like just go outside and your parents had no idea where you were, and then you were just like you just came back when it was dark, and like that was cool?" And like people in the grew up in the 80s, 90s, and 70s are like, "Yeah, that's
Yeah.
how it went down." And then young people are just like they can't like what? How? And it's one of those things that like I feel like the more I see that comment, the more I realize how I take for granted some of that kind of lifestyle that I feel like, God, I hope we're not the last generation to have at least a taste of that kind of living. Uh,
hmm
but we know that that's, I'm talking about a very specific American context. So I feel like this is probably the norm in a lot of the world, actually, this sort of smaller life. And I feel like what's funny is like people who lived in cities or suburban areas tend to have this, and a lot of people that come from small towns or rural are like, "Whoa, don't get too much glamorizing like this lifestyle. It's not as easy as you think. There's a lot of just gossip and all this." But like all those things said, I feel like this image that we're having of like just a neighborhood where it's just people are enjoying themselves. They're like taking pleasure in like these simple delights of just being a human, eating food with some people, sharing spaces with some people, tending to the life around you in the garden and like, you
And
know,
not seeking something bigger, right? I
yeah,
love that
yeah,
line at the end, even though the
yeah,
next country is so
yeah,
close that you
that's
can
cool.
hear the roosters crowing and dogs barking. They're okay with never having seen it because that's its own thing. And a lot of people see that as this siloing. Like we want to connect. There's this vision of connecting all the dots, all the web. And some people are
Yeah.
like, well, why would you not want to go see that? Maybe they have something that you don't know about. And I get that, but at the same time, it's like they're doing their thing, we're doing our thing. And as long as you have that peace and that trust, we talked about trust in another video too,
Yeah.
and uh, abundance and caring for each other. We live
Yeah.
in these suburbs here currently, and there's houses all around us, and we never see anybody outside. Neighbors don't know each other. And we talked to
Hmm.
somebody who's older, she's like 90 years old, who's lived here her whole life, and she said 40 years ago or whatever, it was totally different.
Yeah.
Everybody was doing that in this little neighborhood in this one
Yeah.
county in this one state. People
Yeah.
were living like mowing each other's lawns without asking. Now people mow down that straight line and like do not
Yeah.
mow one blade of grass in my neighbor's yard because it's not my responsibility. And
Yeah.
it's very odd and disconnected feeling. But people used to tend each other's gardens. People used to go just like walk up to someone's house and say, "Hey, here's a
Yeah.
it's something that I baked for you." But we've lost that, and I think that was more of like our parents, grandparents' generation, even for our age, the gen or the baby boomers and
Hmm.
the ones before them. But I think there is this
Hmm.
calling to come back to that.
Yeah.
A lot of people are
Yeah.
feeling this need to connect more personally, not as much through the
Yeah.
screens. We
Yep.
still got to do that from time to time. We're doing that right now, but it's become too much. And we're seeing everything in this two-dimensional flat plane here, where we need to connect more three-dimensionally, four-dimensionally,
Hmm.
five-dimensionally.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. No,
I
I
think
think. Nah, I mean, I feel like yeah, we've been doing too much. To use the phrase that one of my favorite phrases, you're doing too much,
doing too
and like
much.
we're doing too much. We're doing too much, and we're not being enough. And in general, again, I think a lot of people have this figured out really well. I think I think about that often. I think Taoism is one of those traditions and like these teachings that I find so beautiful because I feel like it's one of the few schools of thought, philosophy that I've come across where like you know, the most sage, I can't say the word, the like greatest sage might just be like that surfer dude that just enjoys everyday surfing, or that woman that just like her garden has this beautiful garden
Hmm.
and she tends it.
Hmm.
Like these are
Well, you're
like the
tending to
real sages.
yourself at the same
Exactly.
time by
But
doing
like
this thing that brings you joy,
yes.
right?
Yes, but like that's the thing where it's like I feel like with other traditions it's like they think of their great sages and stuff as like really in really fully with the doctrine, with the dogma, with the right beliefs, with the right knowings, with the right practices. Whereas I feel like with Taoism you can understand how like there's practice there always, but it's like they're also just like engaging with life and they would seem like they're just that's just ordinary, that's just some random guy, and it's like actually that one has it all figured out. Just going
Hmm.
about
Hmm.
their day doing their little fishing or their gardening or their sewing or whatever brings them joy that they just do
Yeah.
without a whole lot of
Just look
thought.
around you. Look at nature. Look at a bird. Look at whatever kind of animals you have in your region and just observe them and see what they're doing. And they're not really doing much. Kind of sniffing
No.
around, rubbing up against a tree or bathing themselves, and no agenda, no to-do list, no having to figure something out, just going with it, going with that flow. And there's a saying,
Yeah.
something, I don't know exactly how it goes, but it's like the regular person talks a lot and says little, but the sage doesn't talk much but says a lot. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to speak a lot to say a lot because you have intention in the words of what you're saying. Whereas someone who's just like yapping all the time is what are you even saying? You're not even making any sense. You're just spitting out
Hmm.
regurgitations or doctrines or whatever. You're not even really
Hmm.
taking stock of what really wants to come through you. And it doesn't need to be
Hmm.
much. It doesn't need to be a lot. There's this
Hmm.
overdoing, this over speaking, overacting, a lot of this over doing too much,
Well,
like you
we're over
said,
consuming and
over
like,
consuming.
whatever we're putting in our body or our body mind is it's there and it's gonna find its way out. And so like, yeah, some of us that can't stop talking is probably because we're just taking in way too much audio in our
Hmm.
lives, and it's just echoing in our brain, and we're like, we got to dump this to someone, and it's like,
Exactly. Exactly.
oh
Yeah.
great, more echo chamber.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Any last words, my friend?
No, no, yeah, I like, I like the this little pastoral image, and
It's beautiful. Yeah.
yeah, it's just kind of figuring out what that looks like, in our sense, in everyone's sense of the world, like how do you bring this sort of more yeah, this more simple, unadorned kind of nostalgic lifestyle in a way that helps you uh find yourself.
And
Because
and more
that's what
peace. And
and
more
more peace. But
peace.
I mean, I feel like that's where the peace is usually, is in like the self, the deeper part of the self, not like all the false self, this self that gosh, that when you strip away all the things that get added, it's like that you find that thing, whether it's, all these things that they said, their customs, their clothes, their houses,
Mhm.
their
Mhm.
this, their that, whatever they're into, right? Um, yeah,
Yeah, I
I
actually just want to bring it back to the beginning. I love this. If a country is governed wisely, its inhabitants will be content. They enjoy the labor of their hands and don't waste time inventing labor-saving machines. That kind of
yeah,
hits home today for
yeah,
sure with the big
wow.
time push for automation, right? And it's like people are not doing the work themselves as much as they are letting machines, AI, whatever, do stuff for them. And we see the skill base in this world decreasing.
Well, and even worse than that, we do see that, but we also like, man, I forget what had triggered this, but like so much is unseen too, like where it's like these things that save us time, they all have a cost. So like all this
Exactly.
electricity in these time saving things, it's not like, oh, I just freed myself all this time. It's like, well, you did, it wasn't free. There was a cost of all that electricity, which has environmental
Energy.
costs,
Yeah,
which has like, so it's like, no, it's not, nothing's being saved. Everything, there's accountability for everything in this world. And we just don't see all the prices that we're paying, all the costs to the environment with all
exactly.
these things, right?
But that's because of the busyness and the complexity
Yeah,
and the
we're trying to save a
complications.
minute or two
And that's
for
all
good
that matters
reason
for a
in
lot of
this
people, right?
material world, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That you don't out of sight, out of mind. Oh, whatever. I don't, as long as it's saving me time, as long as I can breathe for a second, that's all I care about.
Well, yeah,
And
and like I said,
you don't
yeah.
realize that the costs of what else is going on around you yet.
And like I said, it's for good reason, but the problem is reason's doing
In
too much.
quotes. Yeah,
Reason's doing too much.
exactly. Exactly. Simplicity will bring more carefreeness, more peace, more freedom ultimately, which is what we all desire. All right. Well, we'd love to hear what you all think. Drop a line in the comments and please like and subscribe. And until next time, we hope you find a little bit more simplicity in your life.